Upon signing for Manchester United, Romelu Lukaku described his new side as the biggest club in the world. Real Madrid and Barcelona might have one or two things to say about that, but there can be no doubt that Manchester United are right up there. In terms of trophies, they're the most successful side in the history of the English game. And when it comes to finances, they're ranked as the third most valuable football team on earth. So many legends have turned out at Old Trafford, from Bobby Charlton and George Best to Cristiano Ronaldo and Paul Scholes. But we all know about the great players, the Ballon d'Or and European Cup winners. They've got statues and stands named after them and are still routinely talked about on the terraces. But here we're more concerned with those players who Manchester United fans would rather not have to think about. Taken into account is both the players' overall ability and the standard of their performances for the Red Devils, and only players who made a first-team appearance for the club qualify. Here are 7 of the worst players to ever turn out for Manchester United. Liam Miller. Why did Sir Alex Ferguson sign Liam Miller? We're not quite sure. The Irishman had just had a breakout season at Celtic following a long-term injury, but Sir Alex didn't seem to have much faith in the midfielder right from the get-go. He ended up making just 9 league appearances in 2 seasons, before dropping down to the Championship with Leeds United and Sunderland. He later returned to Scotland, before spending his final years playing in Australia. William PRUNIER. Having spent much of his career in the French top flight and having won 1 cap for France, you'd probably have to say that William PRUNIER was the most gifted player in this top 7. But his performances for United make him a thoroughly deserved inclusion. PRUNIER was never supposed to be thrust into the action at Old Trafford, arriving as a trialist having bought out his contract at Bordeaux. However, following an injury crisis, the Frenchman found himself starting at centre-back alongside Gary Neville in a makeshift defence for a game against QPR. That match passed without incident. In his next game though, against Tottenham Hotspur, he struggled, as United shipped 4 goals in a painful defeat. It would be PRUNIER's last appearance for the club. Michael Clegg. You could be forgiven for never having heard of Michael Clegg. Whilst most Manchester United flops go on to have at least a decent career elsewhere, Michael Clegg pretty much left the game for good. He spent 7 years at Old Trafford between 1995 and 2002, during which time he made 9 league appearances, just over 1 a year then. When Clegg left United, there wasn't the longest of queues for his signature, and he ended up at Oldham Athletic. 2 years later, he retired for good, aged 27. Pat McGibbon. Pat McGibbon moved to England, signed for Manchester United from Northern Ireland as a teenager, just like George Best, but that's where the similarities end. In 5 years with the 3-time European champions, McGibbon played just once, getting sent off in a humiliating 3-0 cup defeat to York City. Following his departure, the centre-back joined Wigan Athletic, where he'd spend the next 5 years, playing rather more regularly in the 3rd tier of English football. ARNIE Sidebottom. Not many players turn out for Manchester United who are better known for their exploits in another sport, but that could be said of ARNIE Sidebottom, who represented England once as a cricketer. Unfortunately, we only have 2 pictures of ARNIE, and as you've already seen them both, the rest of this section will feature the many faces of Phil Jones. Anyway, ARNIE joined Manchester United as an 18-year-old and spent 3 years with the club, making 20 appearances, 16 of which came in United's solitary post-war season outside the top flight in 1974-75. Woefully out of his depth, Sidebottom went on to play for Huddersfield and Halifax, before turning his full attentions to cricket. Voted the 5th worst player to have graced English football's top division by the Times, Sidebottom now works as a cricket and football coach at Woodhouse Grove School in West Yorkshire. Dong FANGZHUO. The first Chinese player to play for Manchester United, it's been suggested that Dong FANGZHUO's move to the club may have been somewhat business motivated due to the club's large following in the region. Just 1 league appearance and a couple of cup appearances in 4 years at Old Trafford suggests that could well have been the case. Aged 32, FANGZHUO effectively retired in his mid to late 20s, having struggled with a number of clubs, even in the Chinese 2nd tier. The fact FANGZHUO won only 13 caps for the Chinese national team, ranked 77th in the world, and the last of those caps coming when he was just 22, says it all. Mark Lynch. The man who we give the unenviable title of worst Manchester United player of all time to is Mark Lynch. The right back came through the youth ranks at Old Trafford, spending a total of 6 years with the club between the ages of 17 and 23. In that time, Lynch played just once, scoring an own goal in a 2-0 defeat to Deportivo La Coruña in the Champions League. The Manchester-born fullback would later have brief stints with Sunderland, Hull, Yeovil, Rotherham, Stockport and Altrincham, but failed to play even 40 league games for any of them. He ended his career in 2012 at the age of 30. So that's it for our top 7. Massimo Taibbi, Bebe and Kleberson can all breathe a sigh of relief, for now at least. Let us know your views on Man United's worst ever players in the comments section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to HITC Sevens, the new channel launched by HITC Sport.